Now, the website Reddit has had an appalling few weeks with changes of leadership and shifts in policy as it tries to regulate its increasingly influential and outspoken community of users. Here's some of the stats. In June, the company started cleaning up its site, banning some racist or sexist subject areas. The backlash led in turn to the chief executive, Ellen Pao, stepping down last Friday. And then a compromise emerged from the new CEO. Extreme posts would remain, but they'll be locked away. You can't search for them, and you can't join them without a login. Well, joining me to discuss this is European technology reporter for Business Insider, James Cook. James, this is a strange sort of affair. Just give us the context to Reddit, though. Why do you think it's become such a phenomenon online?
The internet loves places where people can share whatever they want, and Reddit calls itself the front page of the internet. It's filled with photos, videos, articles and discussions. It's got huge amounts of traffic, and it's been trying for a long time to manage these communities and let people share whatever they want, and that's a very, very difficult balancing act for the site to maintain, as we're finding out now.
It's never had much human interaction, has it? I mean, you just set up a website, you let people log on, they can more or less say what they like, discuss what they like. If, as Steve Huffman, the new CEO, says he's going to regulate more or intervene more, he's going to have to hire a whole lot of human beings to do it, isn't he?
Right, so at the moment Reddit is essentially run by a team of volunteer moderators. There are people who clean up the site for free, manage the site for free, and Reddit has to be very careful not to upset these people. Because we've seen in the past with other similar forums like Dig and 4chan that if the administrators, if the staff upset the people who run it, the user base will go. And Reddit wants to hang on to them, but it also wants to get rid of these communities, these sexist and racist communities that are also on the site.
Just explain this Ask Me Anything section and this lady called Victoria Taylor, who was one of these volunteer moderators you talked about, and she was what? I mean, how do you fire a volunteer? But she was sort of taken away from her job, wasn't she?
So Victoria Taylor was a Reddit employee. She was a paid employee and she kind of flew the flag for the site around the world. But a key part of what she did is she worked with the volunteer moderators to help them coordinate interviews with celebrities. I mean, even President Obama has done what's called a Reddit AMA and Ask Me Anything. So she was the go-between between this army of volunteers and the site. And she was dismissed very, very abruptly. We still don't know why. But the rumour is that Reddit want to make more money from these interviews. They wanted to commercialise them, and she was probably uncomfortable with that.
So is it one of these cases that this is another example of an internet phenomenon that seems a good idea, but in reality hasn't got the finance behind it because it's largely, largely advertising free? There is some on the pages. It hasn't got the finance, if you like, hasn't got the revenue coming in to afford to keep going.
It's very difficult to monetize communities like this because advertisers don't want their posts next to very offensive content online. And we can understand that very clearly. So what Reddit has to do is reach a compromise between allowing free speech on the platform and hiding it away, making sure it's not discoverable. If Reddit can manage that, then it will be successful. But right now it's looking very, very tough for Reddit. There's
something of a paradox there. How do you have free speech hidden away? It seems something of a non sequitur, doesn't it?
It does, and that's why people are so upset, because whatever Reddit's new CEO Steve Huffman does, it won't be enough. So what these new rules are about hiding things away, those are a compromise, those are a short-term solution. Will Reddit clear out these communities? We don't think so, because that will see the entire site kind of grind to a halt. So it has to keep sort of doing these little things. It's almost like a plaster on a broken leg, just to keep the site rolling on and keep the money coming in.
Is it it's the rebellious, arcane discussions or rebellious discussions that keep the site going? Are people not happy to have a site where language is moderate or views are moderate? Does that break the whole thing?
The internet loves a place where they can say whatever they want, where they can post whatever they want. But of course there are legal issues with that. You can't really have that. So Reddit can try and serve as that, and it can kind of claim it's a bastion of free speech, as it did originally. But now the new CEO, Steve Huffman, has actually said, actually, we're not a bastion of free speech. We've never claimed to be. So kind of rolling back these claims, because they want to keep the content there, but that's very, very tough to do. And as an internet community, Reddit's going to find that increasingly difficult, because they're already seeing competitors like Vote spring up And that's got to be really worrying for Reddit when people are going to other sites that look exactly the same, that serve exactly the same purpose.
Is this an American phenomenon? Is this where the core audience is? Or I know it's available globally, but is that where its core discussions come from?
Reddit is used all over the world, but of course it's an American company and there are a huge amount of American users on Reddit. But there are vocal critics and supporters of Reddit all over the world. So when Victoria Taylor came over to London, she went to a Reddit meetup here in London. There were lots and lots of people who came out to meet her. She was very popular, and Reddit's very popular over here in Europe, as it is around the world. This isn't just an American phenomenon. Lots of people are very unhappy.
James Cook, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks.